There's a room most people never enter. It's where architects work, surrounded by blueprints, elevations, load calculations, sketches pinned to every wall, half-finished designs, revised plans, discarded concepts crumpled in the corner. This is where buildings are born, not on the construction site, here, in the blueprint room. But here's what's strange about your blueprint room. It's been locked from the inside. By you. You've been avoiding the room where your future self gets designed. You walk past it every day, telling yourself you'll figure it out later, when you have more time, more clarity, more certainty. Meanwhile, you're trying to build a life without ever opening the door to see what you're actually supposed to be constructing. That ends today. We're going inside. When you finally step into your blueprint room, you notice something unsettling. Your drafting table is covered with someone else's plans. Your parents' blueprint for what your life should look like. Society's template for success and respectability. Fear's carefully calculated design for keeping you safe and small. And there you are, standing over them with a piece of tracing paper, copying their lines exactly, thinking this is what designing your future looks like. But tracing isn't architecting, and following someone else's blueprint will never give you a structure that fits who you actually are. You can build a flawless replica of their design and still feel like you're living in someone else's house. Beautiful, well constructed, completely wrong, because it was never meant for you. Most people spend their entire lives as expert tracers, never picking up a pencil to draft their own design. They become masters at replicating other people's visions while their own blueprint stays blank, waiting in a drawer they're too afraid to open. Every structure has load-bearing walls. Remove them, and the whole thing collapses. In buildings, they're easy to identify. They're marked on the blueprint, reinforced, essential. But in your identity architecture, they're harder to see. Most of what you think is load-bearing isn't. That job title you're clinging to? Decorative. The degree everyone said you needed? Cosmetic. The approval of people who don't know your design. Ornamental. You've been treating these things like they're holding up your entire structure, terrified that if you change them, everything will fall apart. But here's what you discover when you actually study the blueprint. The real load-bearing walls are invisible to everyone else. Your values, your capacity for truth-telling, your willingness to keep your word to yourself, your ability to make decisions from identity instead of fear. These are the structures that actually hold up your life. Everything else? You've just been rearranging furniture, thinking you're doing renovations. The blueprint room shows you the difference between what's essential and what you're carrying out of habit, between what's structural and what's just decorative weight you've been taught to believe matters. Here's where blueprint rooms become powerful. They don't just show you one view of the structure, they show you elevations, the same building from every angle. From the front, your life might look impressive. The facade is well maintained. Everything appears stable, successful together. But flip to the side elevation. Now you can see what's hidden from the front view, the cracks in the foundation, the support beams that are barely holding, the additions that don't connect to the main structure. From above, the floor plan reveals how much space you're living in versus how much space the building actually has. Rooms you've never opened. Potential you've never accessed. Whole wings of yourself that remain unexplored because you're too busy maintaining the front elevation. Your designed future self? They live in all the rooms, not just the ones visible from the street. They designed the structure from every angle, not just the one that looks good to people driving by. The blueprint room forces you to see yourself in elevation, to stop performing the front view, and start designing from the inside out. Walk into any architect's studio and you'll see it immediately. Stacks of revised blueprints. Version 1.0, crossed out. Version 2.0, adjusted. Version 3.0, completely reimagined. No architect gets it right the first time. The design process is the revision process. But somehow, When it comes to designing your identity, you think you should nail it on the first draft. You sketch out who you're going to become, and when it doesn't work perfectly, you decide you're not cut out for this. You crumple it up. You go back to tracing someone else's plan. But that's not how architecture works. That's not how becoming works. Your identity blueprint isn't a one-time design. It's an iterative process. You draft a version. You test it against reality. You see what works and what doesn't. You revise. You get more specific. You refine the details. The mistake isn't making a blueprint that needs revision. The mistake is thinking the revision process means you're doing it wrong. Every great building started as a rough sketch, then a better sketch, then a detailed plan, then a revised plan, then construction drawings, then field modifications. Your future self isn't waiting for you to get the design perfect. They're waiting for you to stop treating your identity like a final exam you only get one attempt at, and start treating it like what it actually is, a design-build project where the blueprint evolves as you construct. The door to your blueprint room has been unlocked this whole time. You just thought you needed permission to enter, or more expertise, or clearer vision, or confirmation that you were the kind of person who belonged in rooms where futures get designed. But here's the truth. You don't need permission. You need a pencil. You don't need expertise. You need willingness to draft badly at first. You don't need clarity. You need to start sketching, even when you can only see the outline. The blueprint room doesn't require you to show up as a master architect. It requires you to show up as someone willing to stop tracing and start designing. To distinguish between load-bearing and decorative. To see yourself in elevation, not just the view you show the world. To embrace revision as part of the process, not evidence of failure. Your default future is being designed by whoever picks up the pencil first. Your fear, your circumstances, other people's expectations. Your designed future requires you to walk into that room, clear the table, and start drafting your own plans. Not someday. Not when you're ready. Not when you can see the whole design. Today, with what you know. Starting with a single line. Because the most powerful thing about a blueprint room isn't the finished plans hanging on the wall. It's the blank drafting paper on the table, and your hand reaching for the pencil. The room is open. The tools are ready. Your blueprint is waiting to be drawn.